The global trade landscape is in a state of flux. The United States, under the previous administration, imposed tariffs on various goods from China and Europe. These tariffs, intended to protect American industries, have had far-reaching consequences. One unintended outcome has been the strengthening of China's global position, particularly in its relationship with Europe. The tariffs have created an economic rift between the United States and its traditional allies in Europe. This rift has left European industries vulnerable and opened up opportunities for China to expand its influence. The situation is complex with no easy solutions. However, understanding the dynamics at play is crucial for navigating the current trade landscape. The U.S. tariffs have impacted a range of European industries from steel to automobiles. This has led to job losses, reduced exports, and economic uncertainty in several European countries. At the same time, China has seized the opportunity to increase its exports to Europe and strengthen its economic ties with the European Union. The U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum have significantly impacted European industries. The European steel industry, already facing global challenges, has been hit hard. These tariffs have made European steel less competitive, leading to job losses. The automotive sector has also been affected, facing increased costs and reduced sales. The overall impact of U.S. tariffs on the European economy has been negative. While the U.S. and Europe grapple with the fallout of the trade war, China has been strategically positioning itself to capitalize on the situation. With U.S. tariffs making European markets more accessible, China has ramped up its exports to the region. This influx of Chinese goods, particularly in electronics and machinery, is putting pressure on European manufacturers. China is also strengthening its diplomatic and economic ties with the EU. High-level visits and dialogues have become more frequent, with both sides keen on closer cooperation. China's overtures presented as a reliable partner amidst U.S. trade policy uncertainty. This approach appears to be yielding results. While the EU remains cautious about becoming overly reliant on China, the bloc is increasingly viewing Beijing as a key player in global trade. This shift in dynamics is evident in ongoing negotiations, where both sides seek greater market access. However, the EU is wary of the potential risks associated with China's growing influence. Concerns about unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft remain. The United States tariffs have placed Europe in a precarious position, forcing it to navigate a complex web of economic and political considerations. Europe seeks to maintain its alliance with the United States while protecting its own interests. European leaders have adopted a multi-pronged approach. Diplomacy Europe has engaged in efforts to mitigate tariffs and find common ground. This includes high-level meetings and negotiations. Trade diversification. Europe is pursuing free trade agreements with partners like India. These agreements aim to reduce dependence on the U.S. and open new markets. EU-US negotiations. The EU and the U.S. have maintained a dialogue on trade. There have been periods of negotiation and tariff suspensions. EU-China negotiations. The EU has also engaged with China to address trade war implications. This includes monitoring trade diversions and ensuring fair competition. As the global trade landscape continues to evolve, Europe faces the critical task of safeguarding its economic interests and maintaining its competitiveness on the world stage. The U.S. tariffs have served as a wake-up call, highlighting the vulnerabilities of relying too heavily on a single market. To navigate this challenging terrain, European policymakers need to prioritize the following: strengthening internal cohesion. A united and cohesive European Union is essential for effectively addressing global trade challenges. This involves fostering greater economic integration, coordinating trade policies, and presenting a united front in international negotiations. Promoting free and fair trade, Europe should continue to champion the principles of free and fair trade while advocating for a rules-based international trading system. This includes working with like-minded partners to reform the World Trade Organization, WTO, and address unfair trade practices. Investing in innovation and competitiveness. To remain competitive in the global economy, Europe needs to prioritize investments in research and development, innovation, and skills development. This will require fostering a business environment that encourages entrepreneurship, technological advancement, and the creation of high-skilled jobs. Deepening strategic partnerships. Europe should continue to cultivate strategic partnerships with key economies around the world, including those in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. The current state of global trade is at a crossroads. The US-China trade war, coupled with the impact of US tariffs on Europe, has exposed the fragility of the rules-based trading system. The path forward is uncertain, with the potential for both greater cooperation and escalating conflict. On one hand, there are signs that countries are recognizing the need for dialogue and cooperation. The US and China have engaged in negotiations, albeit with mixed results. The EU has played a mediating role, seeking to bridge differences and find common ground. On the other hand, the risk of protectionism and trade wars remains high. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated economic anxieties, leading some countries to adopt inward-looking policies. The rise of nationalism and populism in various parts of the world also poses a challenge to multilateralism and the rules-based trading order. The choices made by major economies in the coming years will determine the future trajectory of global trade. A shift towards greater protectionism and trade wars would have devastating consequences for the global economy, hindering growth, stifling innovation, and exacerbating inequality. The US tariffs have had a profound impact on the global trade landscape, creating economic and political rifts between traditional allies. Europe has found itself caught in the crossfire, facing economic challenges and needing to recalibrate its trade policies. China, meanwhile, has seized the opportunity to expand its influence and strengthen its position as a global economic power. The situation underscores the importance of strategic foresight, economic resilience, and international cooperation in navigating the complexities of global trade. For Europe, this means strengthening internal cohesion, diversifying trade partnerships, and investing in innovation and competitiveness. For the global community, it means reaffirming the principles of free and fair trade, strengthening the rules-based trading system, and working together to address shared economic challenges. The path forward is fraught with uncertainty, but one thing is clear. In an increasingly interconnected world, the pursuit of narrow self-interest at the expense of international cooperation is a recipe for economic instability and geopolitical turmoil. The time for unity, strategic foresight, and a renewed commitment to a rules-based international order is now.